I'm Rollshambo, and today we're talking shop on the AD20.5. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're here to talk about this, the Andrew Demko AD20.5. Now, this knife has been hyped a lot, and it probably reminds you a little bit of the Andrew Demko or the AD20. This one is about $150. This is the version with Grivery handle scales and, of course, the Oz 10A blade. The blade comes in just over 3 inches, which makes it very carry friendly, and it lends to a nice carry profile. The issue that I have with this blade, however, and trust me, there's a couple, come with build quality and quality from the factory. When I first got this about 7 months ago, the issue that I saw right out of the gates was that the bevel on the edge was inconsistent, meaning that it would be 20 degrees on one part of the blade, 23 degrees on another part of the blade, and it was dull. Now, if we're looking at this knife in a vacuum, where we say, okay, it's okay for this to be dull, plenty of knives are dull from the factory. How about everything else? Well, it does have the shark lock. That's this little bit right here on the back that has jimping on it. People have complained about that. Personally, I haven't really seen any issue with that. The jimping seems fine to me. It also has jimping on the back of the blade here, which lends to a nice thumb position when you go to hold it. Handle scales. Handle scales are Grivery. I do take issue with Grivery. I know that it's supposed to be a fine handle scale material, but G10 is not expensive, and it's better overall. It's got better resistance to heat, it's got better durability, and it doesn't feel as cheap. If you look at the thickness of the handle scales, they're paper thin. It's just it's just paper thin, and the feel of Grivery just feels cheap. Now, main reason why someone would get this knife is to do this. This is a fidget friendly knife. There, we're getting it out of our system. There's nothing wrong with having a fidget friendly knife. Fidget friendly is fine. We all fidget with our knives. If you're a knife guy and you carry a knife every day, chances are you fidget with it. And for that purpose, the shark lock is amazing. Andrew Demko does a phenomenal job making knife locks, and he's known for that in the industry. That's why the AD20 is so popular. Let's not get it twisted though. The AD20, far cry from this guy. Another point of contention for me is this pocket clip. This pocket clip is not deep carry in the slightest. You have about an inch, a bit over an inch, showing outside of your pocket when you put it in there. It fits in the pocket well, and it doesn't tear up your jeans. But that pocket clip is just not good. So what do we have here? We have essentially a $150 fidget spinner. Could just get one of these. $10. Also made in China. Or rather, this is made in Taiwan. It does have a nice slot here, which is kind of reminiscent of the Spyderco Para 3. And while we're on that subject, let's talk about the Spyderco Para 3. Because the AD20.5 was built to compete with this. Now, granted, this example is a modified Spyderco Para 3. However, I would still take a factory stock Spyderco Para 3 over the AD20.5 any day of the week. I've got the handle scales right here. I want you to think about how thick these handle scales are. And I'm going to see if I can get it to focus. There we go. All right. They're not uber thick, but remember, there's no knife in here. If I was to just put these two handle scales together and then put it against this, I mean, yes, the knife is thicker, but they're pretty close. And the thinness of the grivery on here really bugs me. Make a knife with Oz 10A, fine. I get it. Oz 10A is perfectly serviceable steel. It's easy to sharpen. It's tough. But when you have the handle scales this thin, where I can just take two G10 scales, put them together, and they're almost the same thickness, that bothers me. And what bothers me the most is that when you compare a knife against the Spyderco Para 3, you better bring your A game. It seems to me like this is a template for something that could have been a lot better. It's got grivery handle scales because they had to put a handle scale on there. It's got a pocket clip because most people carry this knife in their pocket. And then it's got the shark lock. When you get it out of the plushy case that it comes in, the first thing you notice is this badge on there is shark lock. And yeah, that's fine. I get it. Main reason why people would buy this knife is for the shark lock. It's phenomenal that we have an option that doesn't cost $400 or $500 to get this shark lock. I'm with that. I love the shark lock. That said, I do take issue when knife reviewers, probably one of your favorite knife reviewers, and I'm not going to name names. I follow them too. I mean, I didn't just make this channel out of nowhere. I was inspired based on all the knife reviews that I watched. And before I bought this, I watched one where they compared it against the Spyderco Para 3, which in my opinion is one of the best EDC knives that money can buy. It's under $200. You get S35VN at the minimum. Mine, for about $150, came with S45VN, which is phenomenal blade steel, G10 handle scales. And I liked it so much that I decided to spend the extra to upgrade it to titanium handle scales and all of this jazz. Like, it's gorgeous. I got the Wiseman Co. Fang. I've got the Karambit clip. I put a new pocket clip on there. And let's be honest, the Spyderco Para 3 wasn't perfect out of the box either. The Spyderco stock pocket clips are terrible. They're ugly and they don't sit well in the pocket either. So I get it. But it's $150. And you get a good blade steel, you get a good handle scale material, and you don't have to worry about sharpening this guy out of the box. This guy out of the box was plenty sharp. In fact, I didn't sharpen this at all. I didn't touch it on my sharpening stones for about 6 or 7 months after I first bought it because I didn't need to. The knife held an edge well. Vice versa, this needed a new bevel immediately. The uneven bevel made it sharp like a butter knife. And if you're going to carry a knife with you, you have to understand that even though it's a low possibility, you could end up trusting your life to this tool. You might be in a situation where you really need something that can cut. And if you're going to carry a knife and don't care about how it cuts, then good for you, but I'm not like that. If I'm carrying a knife, it's got to be able to perform the most basic function it was built and designed to perform, which is to cut. So this guy is easy to sharpen. It didn't take me long to sharpen it at all. And I put a serviceable edge on there, used it a couple times to open up some boxes, and then I had to sharpen it again. The blade steel composition matters. Most that are educated would argue that the HRC rating, the hardness rating, the Rockwell rating matters probably even more. I don't have a hardness tester. I don't have a Rockwell tester. I'm not going to send this in to find out. I already spent more than what I think this is worth to get it in the first place. But if I was a betting man, I would say this is between 58 to 59 HRC. Now, when you're watching your favorite knife reviewer, when you're watching the Nick Shabazz, when you're watching Metal Complex or whoever, or Everyday Minimalist is another good one, they probably got these for free. And in fact, I'm almost 100% positive that the first two did. Nick Shabazz definitely didn't pay for this. It's easy to get a good review when, number one, it's the best quality controlled one that they could find. And number two, you're Nick Shabazz and you have all these other knives. You stop worrying about the composition of the steel and it doesn't matter. what really bothered me about a lot of their reviews is that when they compare it against the Spyderco Para 3, they're okay saying that this is the knife to get. But when you look at their top EDC lists for best EDC knives, this isn't on it, but the Spyderco Para 3 is. Now, a lot of these YouTubers, they rely on referral links, affiliate links. They get paid, and that's okay. I do think that whether they're willing to admit it or not, there is a bit of bias there, and you should probably know that. Am I saying don't buy this knife? No. On the flip side, when I judge a knife about how good it is, it comes down to one simple thing. If I lost this tomorrow, if it got stolen tomorrow, would I go out and buy another one? Probably not. To make this knife exactly the way that it should have been, you can go online and you can buy aluminum or titanium scales. The aluminum scales on the low end would be about $65-$70, maybe more after shipping. A new pocket clip, we're looking at $25-$35. And you can get a reblade for this. There's a knife reviewer, very popular, and he's showing off his AD20.5, and he's like, oh my gosh, this is such a good knife. And he did a reblade, and he did a pocket clip, and he did handle scales. And the only thing that he kept, he didn't even keep the screw set. The only thing that he kept from the original was the shark lock. And when you add all that up, you're then spending $400 or $500, and you may as well have just waited and bought an actual AD20, which is a larger knife, undeniably a great knife, and an American-made knife. This is not made in America. This is $150. You can get a version with G10 handle scales. You can get a version with D2 blade steel, which is fine. But in a world where $150 normally gets you S35 VN, which is a far superior knife steel, this material composition doesn't cut it for me. No pun intended. It just doesn't cut it for me. I would have been supremely happy with this knife if it had been an $80 knife. But the fact of the matter is that you can get a Civivi button lock for under $100 with better handle material, with better blade material. It's not going to come with the shark lock, but you can get one with a button lock. Those are very fidgety. So I ask you, why are we spending $150 and voting with our hard-earned cash just to get a locking mechanism?